This video is a quick guide for the ICT High Time Frame Candles indicator. This indicator lays out 6 higher time frames right next to your chart so you can see exactly what the price is doing across different time frames. You don't have to jump time frames to find your setup. For example, you're going to go to 1 hour to find your setup forming and then go to lower time frame to find your entry. It will all be there right next to each other. You can also see the levels both on the higher time frame. For example, if you're trading a sweep of previous candle high and low, you will see the levels right on the chart. For example, right here, there's a high and there's a low, as well as on the candle itself. That way you don't miss it. It will also keep track of PDAs like fair value gaps and order blocks and some other details. For example, SMT, divergence, change state of delivery, trend bias, and so forth. The SMT divergence can be set up across different time frames, so you don't have to just look, for example, on the 5 minutes or 15 minutes for SMT divergence. You can actually monitor the SMT divergence across all the time frames. It will show up on all of them, and it will lay them all on the chart itself. Now, let's take a look at the settings, and let's see how we can make this work for you. The settings are broken down into sections. The first section controls what time frames you would like to see on the chart and how many candles you would like to see for each time frame. For example, for the 5 minutes, we want 10 candles. For the 15, we may want, for example, 5 candles and so forth. You can hide and show any time frame you want. And you can set it to any time frame that you have enabled in your trading view chart. So if you create a custom 45 minutes, for example, you'll see it here and you'll be able to use it. The setting to show only next X higher time frames, this controls how many time frames you want to see based on current time frames. So for example, we are on 1 minute. If I want to see only the next 2, you can set it to 2, and that will show you the 5 and 15. And if you go to the 5 minute, it will show you the 15 and 1 hour and so forth. Next is the SMT section. The SMT section is turned off by default because it is resource intensive. And if you're not using SMT, just keep it off. You don't need it. If you turn on SMT, you will notice on the chart itself that it recognizes and tracks the SMT with the other ticker. For example, I am on NQ. I am trying to track SMT with ES. So I can see the SMT on 15 minutes. I can see it on the 4 hour. And I don't see it anywhere else. Oh, there's 1 hour as well. So you'll be able to see them there as well as on the chart itself. This will be covered in a later section under the chart setting. This will let you see SMT across different time frames, not just one time frame, and that should make it a little bit easier for trading. So with the next section, if you want to track fair value gaps, you can do that. You can track their colors. For example, if you need a fair value gaps and value gaps, you can actually mark them and you can see them on the chart. This will make it easy to spot them. Let's say the price is moving higher and there's a fair value gap on the 1 hour right above where the price is. So now you can make a judgment call. Is it going to go through that fair value gap, or is that a resistance where it may reverse the price down? That makes it very clear for you based on where the current price is across different time frames. The other one is volume imbalance. Volume imbalance is very critical. Sometimes price will get to volume imbalance and bounce, or it may consolidate right above it and then revert. The next section is immediate rebalance. Not many traders talk about immediate rebalance, but it is critical to understand what a immediate rebalance is. Let's turn off the SMT. When looking at candle formations, usually a candle will do one of few things. It will consolidate inside previous candle and not able to break out of it, for example, like here. It will wick through it and close below it, for example, what it did right here. Or it's going to go right through it and close higher than the previous candle. Now, when it breaks higher than previous high, that creates imbalance in price action where one candle is much higher than the third candle back. And if that candle closes that way, it will leave a fair value gap. Immediate rebalance is that when the candle comes down, touch that third candle and move higher, creating a balanced price range. And if you look at the chart, most candles rebalance before moving, because if they don't, they leave fair value gaps. And most of the time, you don't see many fair value gaps on the chart. Usually they immediately rebalance and then continue. If you couple that with higher time frames, for example, if 1 hour does an immediate rebalance, you can look for a setup there. For example, it immediately rebalance and it's most likely going to reverse. So you can look at the lower time frame, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes, and see if there's a reversal setup there. The next section is previous candle levels. Now, previous candle levels is based on the previous candle from the current live candle. So for example, right here, the 15-minute, this is the current live candle. And you can see what the price is doing right here. It's right there. It's moving higher and lower. And the previous candle, there's the high for it, both on the higher candle and the current chart, the low and the mid level. If you're looking for a sweep of previous candle, that shows you a clear level what to look for. If you're, for example, trading the inverted fair value gap, you can look for sweep and a drop. So you know it swept that level. And it's an important level because it's the higher time frame level. Then you can look for an entry basically at that fair value gap and take it low. This is just an example that's not set up right here. Next section. The next section is the order blocks. Now, order blocks are always important. The difference between what this indicator tracks as an order block versus what many people look at in order blocks is that this indicator tracks all up candles as bearish order block and all down candles are bullish order blocks, regardless of where they're found. And that's not because they are high probability order blocks, but because usually when you're trading a higher time frame, you'll have a reaction at those levels. So if there's a 4-hour order block, price most likely is going to go to that order block and show some kind of resistance. For example, you want to trade the 5-minute or 1-minute bounce off the 4-hour order block. But at the minimum, at least if it's there, it's a possible resistance because it's a candle in different direction. With this section, you can turn on order blocks to show them that's an order block. It does not have to be part of these candles. It could have been in the past. The indicator will track it and draw it for you. You can set up the background either for the entire order block or for the important section of the order block. For example, the wick to the middle point without looking at the rest of it, because if it crosses it, then you know that order block most likely will not hold. You can mark the high or low, depending bullish or bearish, the open and the empty, plus the label size for it. You just make it normal for this demo because of the resolution. You can see that's the order block. And this is order block, not in this view, it's somewhere back there. The next section is changed in state of delivery. A changed state of delivery is based on the idea that every up candle is going to support price moving lower and every down candle is going to support the price moving higher. For example, as the price moving higher over here, this down candle is going to push those candles higher. And over here, the down candle is going to push the price action higher. Now, what happens if that fails? For example, those up candles did not support the price and the price actually went through them. CISD is the open of that candle right there. So that becomes the change in state of delivery. And that is the threshold. If it crossed, we can assume price is going to reverse. So the indicator will track where the CISD is per time frame. So for example, in this time frame here on 4-hour, the CISD is right there. On the 1 hour, it's right there. And on the 15 minutes, it's all the way up there. It's outside the view because we're only showing 10 candles, but it will track where is it that if it is crossed, is going to turn the 15-minute into a bullish time frame. It will show the CISD both on the higher time frame and candle as well. And again, we'll look at that when we get to the chart settings. But it's important to understand that CISD is not every single candle. The indicator will calculate the highest or lowest CISD. That's the point where price action is most likely to reverse. And you have to keep in mind that just because 5 minutes reversed, that does not mean that's it. Price is reversed for the entire time frames, for all time frames, and going to go higher. It might be temporary reversal because it's going to go reach into, for example, a 1 hour fair value gap and continue lower. So you have to keep track of multiple time frames to understand what's going on there. 5 minutes may reverse on 1 hour or 4 hour. It might be temporary reversal. It just gives you an idea of possible reversal areas to base your trade on. Now, the CISD reversal point, the indicator will provide you a flexible setting. So you can say a new candle, for example, let's say we have a CISD level right there. We need the new candle that's coming to it. We want it to close above or below the high, or we want it to close above the actual open. The CISD level is the open. However, the wick for it is the high. So right now it just flipped, 5 minutes flipped to bullish. Or if you just want to wick, you can say, I want it to wick above the open, and I'm good with that because I am going to trade a live candle. I don't need to wait for the candle to close. So if you say wick, that's a live candle. Say close. And this happened because we changed the setting over here. So let's keep it like that just for demonstration. There is no right or wrong answer. It's a preference. The indicator set it to close above the wick because that gives it more confluence. It cleared the previous candle that most likely is going to continue. We also use the CISD to derive the bias. So we know if we crossed across the change state delivery and that triggered, we now have an order block. In this case, now we have order block. And again, settings, we said just close above the open. However, it did not clear the entire candle. But what that will do, it will trigger a bias change. And bias is shown in 2 locations. One, in the label itself, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and so forth. If you turn that off, this will turn black. That's the default color, will come in later. And you have a table where you can anchor it to different areas on the screen. For example, I want it to be top left or middle left. Sorry, top left, middle left right there. Or I want it to be middle right. It's going to come over here. Now, if you're using a smaller screen, for example, you may want to anchor it, let's say bottom right. Let's say let's do bottom right. And now you have orientation. You can keep it flat orientation because at the bottom, or you can say keep it vertical because I don't want it to take horizontal space on my screen, just make it vertical. So you can control that. And this option just at tops and bottoms, you cannot do that in the middle. Middle is always vertical on the sides, horizontal on top and bottom, central, top and bottom. You can also change the colors. I like my headers to be light gray, a little bit darker for the borders, and black text. And for the cells, I don't need color-coded cells, so I can keep them white and make the text black. You'll know what these are from the tooltip. It will explain to you what the setting is and what are the options. For example, header color, table border, and header text color. And usually that's how I set up my trend bias table. Now, for the candle itself, we have multiple settings for it. And this is just visual effects of the high time frame candles because of their size and the different color schemes that we use. Personally, I like to use white and dark, really dark gray for my colors. It's just a preference that I have that gives it a less sharp color for me. You can control different settings for the high time frame candle. So the first setting is the distance from chart candles, and that controls where are the candles going to start drawing. So 10 means 10 candles to the right from current candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that will push the candles here. If you change it to, let's say 15, the candles are going to be pushed out, all of them, 15 candles to the right. And if you want it to be tight, you can change, for example, to 5, just because you have a smaller screen resolution and you want to fit them close by, whatever your requirements are, you can do that there. Spacing between candle, that's the space between these two candles. Let me make this one a little bit darker so you guys can see it. The space between candles is space between each one of those. So you can make it 2, for example. It will push things out because now you have 2 spaces in here versus 1. Next is the spacing between time frames. You have 5 minutes and you have 15 minutes. So the space between the edge of this and the edge of this is 10. So you push it a little bit outward. For example, if you make your labels much bigger and they overlap with the 15 minutes, you can push it a little bit out, or you can bring it in because you have small resolution and so forth. And the last one is the candle width. Candle width 1 does not mean the high time frame candle width will be exactly the same as the current candle width. And that's because there's no native candle object that we can use to draw candles here. So we're using boxes and lines to draw them. And the only way to put a line in between is to draw a 2 candle width for the candles. So each candle here is twice the size of each candle here. And again, this is not something we control, just what's available in TradingView, and we're trying to rely on that. However, if you want to make it wider, you can, for example, increase the size of it. And this is especially of those who wants to do, for example, Power 3, and let's say they want to track only one time frame, and they want to do, for example, 2 candles or 1 candle. So they don't have a lot, so they want to see it very clearly. They can control how they want to view it over here without impacting anything else. It's a preference. So that's the candle width. Let's go back to 1 and make them, this is the smallest it can be. And now we get to the main chart. Main chart overlays anything found on what's called a map time frame on the current chart. Mapping is a section here, right here. We're going to jump to it, where you can say, I want to pair 1 minute to the 15 minutes. So anything that happens on the 15 minutes, I want it to be reflected on the 1 minute. Everything that happens on 1 hour, I want it to be reflected on the 5 minutes, and so forth. Now, any time frame between 1 and 5, so the 2, 3, and 4 will inherit the 15 minutes. 6 through 14 minutes will inherit the 1 hour, and so forth. These time frames here must be the same as the time frame here. You cannot, for example, use 15 and 1 hour here and then use 30 minutes right there at the bottom, because it basically trying to tie the two together, this time frame, to derive the levels to draw them here. However, there's no way to limit that in TradingView, so it's free selection to make sure you match the two. We'll get back to this section in a minute. So we're going to get back to the previous level. So that's so the main chart derives those level, the drawings, based on the mapped time frame. So whatever the mapped time frame, you can do it here. The only exception is SMT. Now, SMT, because it is resource intensive, enabling it here does not show the SMT. You'll have to enable the actual SMT explicitly, saying, I want to track SMT. That way, the indicator will start tracking and calculating the SMTs. And from here, you can decide which SMTs you want to track. By default, they're all. So the 5-minute SMT, the 15 minutes, the 1 hour, they will be reflected here and with a label for them. What you can do in here is limit it to the paired time frame. For example, I want to trade 1 minute mapping to the 15 minutes. So it's not going to show you the 1 hour SMTs. It's still on the higher time frame, but on the current chart, it will show you the SMT for the 15 minutes only. There's one right there and one right there. So that just gives you an option to watch one time frame. Or you can say, I want it to show the paired and higher. because the next time frame is too close to the current time frame. For example, 5 minutes is so close to 1, we don't want to see that. So a saying paired or higher, that will show you, for example, skip the 5. 1 minute is paired with the 15, so it's going to show you the 15 through weekly. If you say I want to pair, for example, the 1 minute to 1 hour, then it's not going to show you the 15 minutes. It will disappear and show you only the SMT on the 1 hour chart, so you can treat it that way. Back to 15. Okay. Now you can also overlay the order blocks for the map time frame. So the 15 minutes order blocks can now be shown on the 1 minute, and they are extended by default. So you can see where the 15-minute order block originated. You can go back all the way. Originated here. There's an order block, wicked up, and the next candle came down. That order block is overlaid here. So you can say, for example, if it comes down or go up there, it's going to come down. But like we see here, it wicked into it. It's right there. That's the wick. Wicked once, wicked twice, and reacted to it. So if you're not watching the higher time frame, you can see them right here and see what's going on. So you can trade that. Sorry. Okay. The next one is the CISD level. And again, this is change state of delivery. So we want to know where the time frame is going to change. Let's make the label a little bit bigger. So for the CISD, the 15-minute CISD, which is mapped to, again, the 1 minute, is all the way up here. So the 1 minute is still bearish, or the 15 minutes still bearish until the 1 minute crosses that level, and we see a close on the 15-minute chart. Then we will flip into a bullish state. Then after that is the previous candle levels and swept levels. And I didn't mention this one, but you also have that under the previous candle, the previous levels section, swept levels. And what these are the previous candle highs and lows where the following candle swept it and then closed inside or below that level. So for example, on the 15 minutes, we can see here that this candle swept above the previous candle and then came back and crossed. So we'll mark it as red, and we'll keep that marker over here so you can play a reversal or whatever you set up the call. For example, CISD entry going lower, or a inverted fair value gap, you want to go lower. You can see next candle, it went above it, then it came down, retested that key level and went lower. So you'll be able to see them here and match them there and track them. So those are the previous key levels. The previous swept level. The key level itself, so this is a current live candle. The previous candle, like we said, it's marked there. And you can control if you want them to be overlaid here or not. So you can come into the main settings and say, I don't want to see the previous candle levels. I just want to see the swept levels. And that will take them here and not show them. The next one is the fair value gaps. You can overlay the higher time frame fair value gaps over the current one. We don't have one for 1 minute. Take a look at 1 hour. Oh, we have them disabled. So let's go back and enable the fair value gaps. Fair gaps right there. So that will overlay any fair value gap you have here on the chart itself if the option enabled. So now you can see, for example, on 5 minutes in this case, there was an hourly fair value gap. We came into it and we sold off. And again, 5 minutes is mapped to 1 hour. So that's why you see 1 hour fair value gaps here. And the rebalance level, same thing. That's 1 hour rebalance. You had a candle over here. So this candle closed below this candle, the third candle back. So now the following candle is going to attempt to come back and rebalance it. It came up close, but it did not touch it and now it's dropping. If it closed lower, then we have a small fair value gap here, so we can track that. But when this candle opened, we know it's gonna try to attempt to come back over here. We see we have a 5-minute order block. It hit it and coming down. The next settings related to separation of the lower time frame based on the higher time frame. So the higher time frame vertical line separates the hourly candles. Each hour started here. For example, this is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock hour, and so forth. So they are laid out in here. And you can control however you want to display them, dotted line, gray, or if you want to make it, for example, semi-transparent and wider, you can do that here. The per time frame. So this is the 2 o'clock. This is the 3 o'clock. We started the 4 o'clock, but not closed yet. So we're displaying a timer for the 4 o'clock over here. That same timer exists here, so you can, if you don't want to see it here, you can turn it off, but it's here just for those who don't want to look at all time frames because of screen resolution, but you can turn it on and off in here. Next is extend the lines. So any lines drawn over here, for example, previous levels and so forth, you can decide they're extended by 2 from current candle to candles to the right. And you can increase that to 4 or 5 candles to the right. Okay. Next section, the label settings. Label settings controls the actual label for the time frames. Right now it's normal. Let's say, for example, we want to make it large. And that will change, for example, the 15 minutes to a larger font. The default color for it is decided here. However, if you enable bias in label, this color will override that default because we said we want to know the bias in the label. So now it's 15 with directional. If I disable that, it will just turn back to 15. The position of the labels, by default, we show top and bottom. However, if you have preference just for top or bottom, you can change that over here. Bottom or both, sorry, this bottom. Okay. And where do you want the labels to anchor to or align with? So by default, it's near the candle. So the 15 visible within tier, 1 hour, 4 hour, and so forth. If you're on a much lower time frame, it's better to have that setting. If you are on a high time frame trader, you can make it, for example, a line. And what a line will do is that it will push them to the highest candle and align them to the top wherever they are. So 15, 1 hour, 4 daily, and so forth. It depends on screen resolution and your preference, but the default is near the candles. Remaining time is the remaining time per candle. So we have almost 3 minutes for 15 minutes and 47 for 1 hour and so forth. Something to keep in mind, these times will adjust when the candle updates. So if you're trading a stock that does not update often, that timer may lag. And that's because the only way to update the timer is that if we have new data coming in, that way the script will execute and we'll be able to trigger the call to update the timer. Candle time controls the time of candle open above the higher time frame candles. So for example, in here, if you enable candle time, I can see the each 15-minute candle when it starts. So this is 1:45, 2 o'clock, 2:15, 2:30, 2:45, and so forth. So you'll be able to mark the actual candle time. If you care about what time each candle opened, you have that option to turn it on. It's off by default, just for decluttering for the your screen. Let's turn it back. Time over. Now we come back to time pairing. Time pairing, and again, it pairs the current time frame, whatever it is, up till the next one to a high time frame for drawing logic. You can say, I want to pair current time frame, for example, either I want to see all candles or I want to see paired only. If you say paired only, it will only show you one time frame. So if I am 5 minutes, I'll see 1 hour. If I go to the 1 minute, I'm going to see the 15 minute. That's the line we drew a while back. So you can walk through them and it will adjust to the time frame appropriate to it without showing you all the other time frames. There are traders who prefer to trade current time frame and one high time frame. And you have others who wants to trade more than that. They want to trade the higher time frame and everything above it. So you can do that. And let's, for example, now we'll see the 4 hour, 1 day, and 1 week based on the 15. If you want to see only two, you can combine the logic. For example, I want to see 2 time frames starting from the paired higher. That will show you the 4 and daily. So you'll be able to play with the settings to manipulate what exactly you want to see. Do you want to see everything up to 6? Or you just want to see, for example, paired, or you want to see all time frames? And you'll be able to control that from here. Say all. That way we get the time frames. And lastly, the alert. The indicator has a large collection of triggers or alerts. The alerts are controlled by the settings for alert on. You can set it to alert on all time frames. So if you want to get alerts for any change that happened on 5 minutes through weekly based on the configuration you had on top, you can say I want to see all and set the alert when you are on the 1 minute. If you want to get just the paired time frame, and let's say you're setting the alert on the 1 minute, if you say just paired time frame, then you'll only get alerts on anything triggered on the 15 minute. If you want to get the 1 hour, then set the alert when you are on the 5 minute chart to tie the alert to 5 minutes, and the indicator will only give you the alerts for the 5 minutes. Now, you can also say similarly, I want just the paired or paired and higher. I don't care for the 5 minutes. If I am on the 1 minute, I just want 15 through the rest. So you'll be able to control that. The other setting is using a time window, and based on whatever time zone, I would match that with the time zone you set on your trading view. But the purpose of this field is to make sure you only get alerts when you want to get them. So if you are a AM session trader, you can set it, for example, 7:30 till noon. If you just want to trade during the day, you can set, for example, 8:30 to 4 o'clock. And that prevents the open market type symbols such as Forex or futures from sending you alert at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. That way you only get the alerts during the trading hours. That way when you get to your station, you get the alert and now you can take an action on it. The alerts themselves, we have a large number of alerts. They should be clear as is, and there's an explanation of what they are. But at a high level, you can get alert every time a higher time frame candle starts. For example, if you want to get an alert whenever 4 hour candle opens, it will alert you there's a new candle opened. If a candle form an inside candle, if you have an outside candle, an engulfing candle, you get an alert for that. If there is an SMT formed on the paired time frame or higher or all of them, it will alert you every time it detects an SMT, assuming SMT is enabled at the top whenever you set the alert. Close above or below previous high. This is when a candle closes, for example, this candle right here, closed below this candle's low. So it crossed it and closed. The sweep of previous candle high or low on candle close. So in case of these candles here, it swept it, came back and closed. So now that's a sweep on close. If you want to track the live candles because you want to trade, for example, the inverted fair value gap as soon as it takes place, you can use the live candle option. And what the live candle option will do is that the minute the candle crosses above the previous candle level, it will send you the alert. It doesn't have to close. it may continue or may reverse. But what you're saying is, I want to get an alert whenever the previous candle high or low crossed. That will do that right there. That's the live candle, cross or previous high. Cross of previous candle's middle. So in the event of some candle, the previous candle's middle section, so the candle from here to here, the middle is right there. So the minute it came and crossed it, that will trigger an alert to tell you that price retraced 50% of previous candle. And sweep of previous candle high or low for live candle. For live candle means in the live action candle itself, it went, for example, above previous candle and came down below it, but it did not close yet. So if you want to trade live candle reversal, you would set that option right here. The difference between the cross and the sweep is that the sweep, it waits for candle closure to make sure it closed within the range after it swept the high or low. The live candle, it swept it, but the candle is still alive and may go through it again. The CISD level, CISD is the chain state delivery level, for example, that level right there. So you can say after it crosses, live candle crosses that level, I want to be notified so that I can pay attention and be ready for when the candle closes. Or you can wait for the candle to close to get the alert. Don't alert me until price closes above that CISD level. Trend reversal. Trend reversal will wait until the trend switch, for example, the bottom section. If a 15-minute trend reversed from bearish to bullish, then you will get notified and then you can just take an action based on that. The next three are for order block levels. The cross of order block high or low. For example, this is a bearish order block. The minute it touched the order block low, the bottom, basically the low, the bottom wick, it will fire an event letting you know we reached a order block in case you want to trade order block reversal. Order block open, if it reached the open of the candle, if it's series of candles, is going to be the open of the first candle. Or sweep of the MT, which is the middle point of the order block. It's right there. So if it comes back up, it's reached there. That may indicate weakness, so you want to keep track of that, for example. The next one is new pivot. So new pivot relies on 3 candle closures. So let's use this example. You have candle 1, candle 2, candle 3. The minute this candle closes, we know we have a high over here. It's short-term high formed here. So we know we have a pivot point right there. So it waits for third candle to close to make that formation. So you have 1, 2, 3. The minute this closes, now we have a low. You have 1, 2, 3. The minute this closes, now we have a high, and so forth. So the new pivot waits for short-term high or low to form. Immediate rebalance, like we talked about immediate rebalance. So if we have a hard time frame candle open below the previous candle, the new third candle will attempt to come back and rebalance. So if you want to track rebalance, you can turn this option on and it will notify you next time the candle try to rebalance it. If it touches it, then you'll get notified that there was a rebalance, and you can take a look at the chart to understand if it's going to be a continuation through the candle or a reversal trade there. So this is the higher time frame candles indicator. It's very useful, it's very helpful, it's very configurable. And if you find value in it, there's a 7-day trial period and you can give it a try. Thank you for watching.